grab your mallet. And when you start to chisel, you always use the chisel in one hand. You'll notice I'm grabbing the chisel close to the end that cuts. That gives me more control over the chisel. And I'm using the hammer in my right hand. If you're left-handed, you might want to swap that over. When you start the spoon off, you want to come down on a steep angle and use small taps on the hammer. As you tap the chisel in, you need to slowly drop that handle down. It changes the angle of your cut, so it actually cuts in on an angle. Okay, you don't want to go continually down because you'll chisel right through the back of your spoon. When you're going around the sides, you can push that handle away from you and it'll steer the chisel around the corner. Or if you're going this way, notice I've moved my body, so if this slips, it's not going to cut me. Okay, if I was standing here doing this, that could be quite dangerous. Okay, so you stand to the side and pull that handle around when you're hammering. Notice that the centre line that I've drawn in here, I never cross that. I've got to try to stop when I get to it. That way it prevents you from going too deep and wrecking the other side. Now, once you have these chips hanging out of the timber, try to break them off. If you don't break them off, they could run through and rip the grain apart and wreck the other side. Now, when I go to work on the other side, it's very awkward to do that. So what I can do, if the piece of timber pulls out easy, which this doesn't because it's in nice and firmly, you could swap the timber around. Otherwise you could just undo this handle, swap it around like this and tighten it up again. That way I'm comfortable all the time. If you don't feel comfortable, you need to stop and turn that piece around. Otherwise you'll end up having an accident. Again, starting at the top. You may have to do that in different steps. So for the first time, to take off a little bit off both sides, flip it around again. You can go a little bit deeper if you need to. You should be able to feel with your thumb, if you take it out of the jig, how deep it is, or you'll be able to get a rough idea just by looking. One thing you'll notice, after doing that, there's lots of little rough marks all around here. It's a rough shape, it's a good shape, but there's lots of rough bits on there. Now, if we were to use sandpaper on that right now, that could take a whole hour of sanding just to get that nice and flat. Okay, so we're not going to do that. We're going to make this run a little bit quicker, and we're going to cheat. Okay, this time we're going to put this hammer down. Last time we were using it with a hammer. Okay, both hands are doing something. Both of my hands are doing something, so I can't cut my hand. Okay. This time, I'm going to use both hands on the chisel. What we do not want to do is hold the work like this and chisel like this. Okay, you are going to slip and cut yourself. And these chisels here, they will take a chunk of meat right off your hand. Okay, and you'll never be able to get that bit of meat on. You'll have a big gash in your hand. Okay, so we use two hands on the chisel. I like to rest my thumb in the groove on the top of this chisel and push the handle downwards and you roll it in your hand. It naturally gets that spoon shape as you go. On the edges you'll notice that I can actually twist it and it cuts a bit neater as well. Okay? Again, the neater you are with this, the less sanding you have later on. Notice you move your body around so none of your hands or any part of your body is in front of this chisel. That way you're not going to cut yourself. Again, only go to the centre, and once you finish one side, you can flip it over and work on the other side. Now, you may wonder why we didn't just do this from the start. The reason why is that this thing, what I'm doing now with my hands, it's a lot finer. It gets the wood nice and smooth, so it's a little bit slower as well. Okay, so we take off the majority of the wood first, and then we're able to smooth it off like that. Okay, we'll bring it in for a closer look so you can see the difference. Okay, that spoon now, the centre part should take about 5 minutes to smooth out with some sandpaper. Okay, now once you've got it as smooth as you need it, what we need to do is take that timber out of the jig. One way to do that is to grab this chisel that you've got here, put it on the jig and pull it up like that. Okay, that makes it easy. Right. Now, we've got a few tools here that we don't need anymore. Once we're finished with the tools, we make it easier on ourselves, clean a spot on our bench so we have more room. Okay, we don't need this anymore. Don't need the chisel. We don't need our plane anymore. And we don't need this jig anymore. So I'm going to put those away. Now if we're finished with all the chisels, we might want to put those back into the trolley. But obviously everyone on your table needs to be finished with them as well.